Last week, I went over the special grade sorcerers we see in Jujutsu Kaisen. This week, I'll be talking about the special grade cursed spirits we see. I got 15 to look at today, and I'll be ranking them on strongest to weakest. First one we talk about will be, in my opinion, the weakest, and the last one will be the strongest. I feel Etso and Ketchizu shouldn't even count as special grades. It's more of like a technicality off being death paintings. These two are fairly weak, especially for special grades. I mean, they lost to Yuji before Shibuya and Nobara, which are not great sorcerers, but they do have blood manipulation, which is a pretty good technique, and I'm going to talk about that when we get to Choso. We don't get to see a lot of Akuro Otake, a lot because the only time we do get to see him, he dies immediately. The reason he's above Etso and Ketchizu is because he died immediately, but it was to Takiba, who's a way stronger sorcerer than pre-Shibuya, Yuji, and Nobara. This spirit's hard to rank because we don't get to see any of it because it just immediately dies. But I feel like it should get low because of that fact, but at least higher than them. Kamino Mai is another hard one to rank because we don't get to see them almost at all. The only time we do get to see them is when Geto summons them to fight Yuta, and they basically get the spot just off how Geto talks them up. Because we don't get to see this one die, but it's just using Uzumaki, which dies to Rika Laser. So this is basically just how Geto hyped him up. That's the only reason why this really got this spot. So I don't know how to pronounce this thing's name, but I'm going to give it a chance. Ganshina? It's like the weird elephant-looking cursed spirit. Unlike the other two, we actually know what this thing's technique is. It's obstacle removal. We don't really get to see what this can really do, but we do get to see it remove a few guards from I think the White House. So we know it can at least move guards. I'm not sure what the full extent is. Could this remove Infinity, for example? It's just we didn't get to see enough of this to see how good it could be. Because this could be really broken, but as we see it right now, it's really bad and just mediocre. Which is why it's getting this spot. Because it has a lot of potential, but we just don't get to see a lot of this like the other few on this list. So it can have this spot. The Finger Bearers are the first cursed spirits we see in JJK. And they're relatively strong. They got really good healing factors. They got pretty good speed. And they got pretty decent energy attacks. They don't seem to be that powerful because, they lost to Megumi early on. Yeah, he has domain, but, he has the worst domain by far. And we saw him lose to Sukuna, who was still kind of broken at the time. So, at least this one has, a decent showing. We at least have some good power showing for this one. That's why it's above all the other ones. Those ones are, okay, and then this one's, starting to be pretty good. Not pretty good, this one's okay. I believe the spirit's name is Kuchisaki Ana. It appears very weak in the show, but it fights Toji, and Toji is just too broken. Her attack works by casting a simple domain, then locking you into a binding vow, and then having you answer her question. If she likes your answers, well, we don't really know what happens, but if she doesn't, we know she cuts you with her spirit blades, and they do some decent damage, all things considered. I think she's better than everyone below her just because she can talk, and because she can cast a simple domain. Smallpox Deity is our first cursed spirit on this list with the domain expansion. The Smallpox Deity's domain is called Graveyard Domain. The sure hit of this domain works by trapping its opponent in a coffin, then dropping a tombstone on it. Once the coffin is underground, the Smallpox Deity counts down to 3, and once it hits 0, its opponent gets smallpox and dies. The reason this is so high on our list is because developing a domain is very difficult for any cursed spirit and any sorcerer. And now, this shows just immense skill. I might be underrating Kuroishi, but I think it's number 8 because he's not too broken, but he's really strong still. His curse techniques include Cursed Cockroaches, Parthenogenesis, and Earthen Insect Trance. Yes, I know I mispronounced the second one, but I can't pronounce it. Cursed Cockroaches allow Kuroishi to produce and control flesh-eating cockroaches. The one I can't pronounce is when cockroaches eat flesh and multiply. And Earthen Insect Trance conjures flying insects that carry large sacks of vile or just any kind of liquid substance. This substance is used to impair opponent's vision. Kuroishi also has a curse tool that if he hits an opponent, it infects them with cockroaches, and then they eat their way out of the opponent's inside. I've heard that Kuroishi is very strong, but I just don't think he's that amazing. Maybe I'm wrong. If he is, tell me in the comments. But let's move on to number 7. Choso is one of the 3 Cursed Womb Death paintings we see. Choso is easily the strongest of the ones we see. His technique is called Blood Manipulation. You might remember it. I mentioned it earlier when we were talking about number 15. Typically, this isn't a great technique just because us humans have a limited amount of blood. but his physiology lets him convert cursed energy into blood, making this one of the most versatile techniques. He can turn into like knives, lasers, like discs, throwing stars, whatever he needs. Even like probably like armor if he needs that. Like, he's also a great fighter, and we see him go decent with Kenjaku. Like, he would obviously lose. He and Yuki did pretty well together against him. He also knows Simple Domain called New Shadow Style, and like, he's just really strong from what we see. So I feel like he deserves the number 7 spot. I might be wrong. Tell me in the comments. Hanami is our first disaster curse we have to talk about today. He's the one born out of the land-based natural disasters. He can produce and control plants. He can attach cursed buds to sorcerers that will drain their cursed energy, and the more a person uses their technique, the more powerful it gets. We also see him use a move called Flower Field, which kind of distracts an enemy, or like, makes them kind of dizzy, distracted, whatever you want to call it. It's also said he has a domain expansion, but we never get to see it, so we can't really consider it, and it's like we can consider it like to boost him, but we can't it's not like Daggins where we actually get to see it, so we can give him like a bigger boost. Like, that's why he's better than Hanami in my opinion. But Hanami is also like really tanky, which is helpful. But he also learned domain amplification from Kenjaku. So this basically just lets him get through techniques or domains if he needs to. And I talked about it last week on the Special Grade Sorcerers video, so go and check that out. We have to talk about another disaster curse after this, Dagon. Dagon is the youngest disaster curse we see in JJK. That's not to say he's weak, because I think he's stronger than Hanami, more or less just because of his domain. His domain almost let him beat really strong first grade sorcerers like Nanami, but like he did die, but that's just because Toji appeared. His domain is called Horizon of the Captivating Skandaha. I can't really pronounce that last word, so take it at your best interest. It seems really strong. Its sure hit is called Death Swarm. It works by having Dagon summon endless amounts of sea-based Shikigami, and they're invisible until they make contact with Dagon's enemies. Dagon can also summon non-invisible Shikigami. These Shikigami seem to be strong, but, they can also be seen, so who's to say? Let's take a break from talking about disaster curses, and let's talk about Curse Noya. From what I've heard, Curse Noya is one of the strongest curses we see. Noya's technique, Projection Sorcery, allows the user to turn 1 second into 24 frames, and then trace them until the last frame. Anything Curse Noya touches while using his technique will have to do the exact same, but if they mess up any of the frames, they will be frozen in place until they're hit. Curse Noya also has a domain expansion called Time Cell Moon Palace. This domain takes Projection Sorcery to a whole new level. It's now applied on a cellular level and to everyone in the domain. Anyone who doesn't follow the frames exactly can lose limbs, eyes, or even just their life. The only people who will really survive are people who are well versed in this curse technique. Now, back to disaster curses. We have to talk about Mahito. He is one of the best techniques we see in Idol Transfiguration. Idol Transfiguration, at its core, allows Mahito to manipulate the soul. This gives him the power to change his own body and the bodies of others. The thing that allows Idol Transfiguration to thrive is Mahito's nature and creativity. He can turn humans into practically anything, like swords, trains, like just platforms, basically just anything. But my favorite use is when Mahito turns some guy into a sword. I thought that was really cool. Mahito is the only curse spirit we ever see use Black Flash. Mahito also has an ultimate form and a domain expansion. The ultimate form basically just gives him a physical boost, more durability, and more strength, but his domain expansion, called Self-Embodiment of Perfection, is so good. The sure hit is Idol Transfiguration, and this will practically kill any sorcerer in one hit except like high grade ones or special grades. Jogo is the last disaster curse we have to talk about this week, and I think he's the strongest by far. Like, even Sukuna called him strong, and that's Sukuna we're talking about. Jogo's technique is Disaster Flames. It basically just allows him to make fire and manipulate it. He can also summon small flying insects that explode into flames. Jogo also is taught domain amplification from Kenjaku. This just allows him to neutralize domains and techniques. Jogo's domain, Coffin of the Iron Mountain, is one of the best we see in the entire show. It'll kill almost anyone just being in it because of the temperature. And the sure hit is just hitting with volcanic rocks. It's nothing too special, but just the raw heat will kill almost any sorcerer. Jogo is the first character we see in the entire series, to even have a domain expansion. Then we see Gojo. But he's the first character on this list to have a maximum technique. He can create a giant meteor to attack his enemies. Even Sukuna admits that this meteor would have caused decent damage. With Jogo at number 2, that means Rika is at number 1. Rika was given the title of Queen of Curses due to her immense strength and cursed energy. Rika is the only reason why Yuta was able to beat Geto when they fought. This should just give you an idea of how strong Rika is. On top of this, Rika also has an unlimited pool of cursed energy, and the cursed energy blast that she has is the strongest attack on this list. I think if Rika were to fight any cursed spirit on this list, except maybe Mahito and Jogo, it wouldn't even be close. Remember that we're talking about Cursed Rika and not Shikigami Rika. Because of all this, I think Rika is the strongest cursed spirit. But thank you all for watching. If you like this video, I made one last week going over the special grade sorcerers. Next week, I'm going to be taking a break from these kind of videos, and I'm going to be ranking the characters off my opinions. But don't worry, the following week, I will have a video going over the Shikigami we see in JJK. Bye!